did something happen. The phone finally connected. I quickly informed my husband of the situation. It seems someone broke in. The room is a mess, and your room is okay, but something might have been taken. I'm calling the police right now. Wait a moment. Actually, my husband hesitated before revealing something unexpected. I had let my mother stay in the room during our trip. What does that mean? My name is Karen. I'm 29 years old and a company employee. I've been working relentlessly since graduating from university, and I got married just a year ago. My partner is Sam, a business associate from a collaborative company. I first met Sam when I attended a meeting at his company as the new project leader. Nervous, he greeted me with a smile. Nice to meet you, I'm Sam. I look forward to working together with you today. After several meetings, we gradually got to know each other better. One day after a meeting, Sam asked, "Karen, do you have some time now? Would you like to have tea at a cafe I recommend?" "That sounds nice. I'd love to go," I responded. During our conversation at the cafe, I was drawn to his sincerity and sense of humor, and I found myself opening up to him. "Karen, to be honest, I've been wanting to get to know you better recently. How about having dinner together this weekend?" When Sam said those words, my heart was filled with surprise and joy. Yes, I'd be delighted to come. After that, we began to go on more dates. Sam was always kind and listened to me attentively. It was half a year later. One night, after dinner, Sam suddenly confessed his love, saying, "Karen, to tell you the truth, I've always been thinking about you. Would you go out with me?" "I love you too, Sam. I look forward to our future together." From that moment, our romantic relationship began. As we continued dating, Sam proposed several times, saying, "Karen, let's live together. Let's get married." At first, I hesitated, thinking it was a bit soon, but I was drawn to Sam's deep love and his strong desire to live together. Then, one day, I responded, "Sam, I also want to build a future with you. Let's get married." He was overjoyed, and from that moment, our new family life began. Having lived alone for a long time, sharing meals, watching TV, and enjoying conversations at home brought me great happiness. Thus, I am very satisfied with my married life with Sam. However, if there is one concern since getting married, it's about my mother-in-law. She had Sam at a very young age and is still in her 40s. Sam, raised by his single mother, is very close to her, and they often go shopping together at her invitation. Perhaps because of this, my mother-in-law finds it hard to let go of Sam, and she frequently interferes in our marital life. When we were choosing a dining table for our new apartment, my mother-in-law came along. "Karen, how about this table? I think it's wonderful." "Yes, but it might be a bit too big." I hesitated, but my mother-in-law pushed further. "No, having a table this size will make family meals much more comfortable. Right, Sam?" She prompted Sam for agreement. "Yeah, maybe a larger one would be better." As Sam agreed, my mother-in-law decided by saying, "Then, it's settled." Moreover, for some reason she had received a spare key from him and often came to our house without prior notice to cook. One day when I came home, my mother-in-law was making clam chowder in the kitchen. "Karen, welcome home. I'm making clam chowder today." She said this with a smile. "Mom, it's a bit troublesome when you come over without notice." I said that modestly, to which she responded with a smile. "Don't be so formal. We're family, and it shouldn't be a problem to visit any time, right?" Moreover, my mother-in-law often asked me to cook for her. "Karen, next weekend, please come to my house with Sam and prepare the meal." But you are such a good cook. Why do I need to do it?" "It's not like that. It's good for young people to take the opportunity to work hard. Sam is looking forward to it." "Yes, your cooking is always delicious, Karen. I'm looking forward to it." Sam responded nervously, and my mother-in-law's interference continued, increasing my stress gradually. Not only was she interfering, but she also showed blatant displeasure towards me, often throwing sharp words my way. For example, when we were celebrating Sam's birthday at our house recently, she showed up unannounced. "Happy birthday." "Ah, Mom." "Oh? Is Karen here too? Were you off today?" "I took a day off to celebrate Sam's birthday." "That's a mistake. Sam and I were planning to have a big celebration for his birthday, just by ourselves. Your presence spoils our plans. I wish you had read the room a bit better. Even so, I am married to Sam." "So what if you're his wife? You're not claiming to be better than a mother, are you? Your connection is just a piece of paper, so don't get ahead of yourself. We have a blood connection, and I am the one who brought Sam into this world." Thus, she prioritizes the parent-child relationship and looks down on our marital relationship. She does not favor me because she loves her son dearly and is often cold towards me. Still, I convinced myself to endure this, avoiding any sort of jealousy. The fact that she raised her son alone is indeed worthy of respect. However, an incident I couldn't forgive occurred. It happened last week. In the living room, there was an old watch passed down to me from my deceased grandfather. When my grandfather fell ill and closed his watch store, he entrusted me with this oldest watch. This antique is worth over $20,000, and my grandfather's will stated that it should be used in times of financial hardship. After my grandfather's death, this watch became a very valuable heirloom to me. The reason I keep this worn-out watch in the living room is to always feel close to my beloved grandfather. However, when my mother-in-law visited, she saw this watch and criticized. "What is this? Why keep such an old, worn-out watch in the living room as if it has any value?" I tried earnestly to explain that the watch was a valuable antique and a memento from my grandfather, but she showed no understanding. Seeing her looking down on the keepsake, I felt as if both my deceased grandfather and I were being despised, which was very painful. If being scorned by her meant protecting it, I chose to store the watch in a drawer in my room and keep it carefully. Later, she asked with a laugh, "What happened to that worn-out watch?" When I replied that it was stored in my room, she looked pleased that things had gone her way, which further irritated me. Of course, after she left, Sam asked, "Are you okay?" and comforted me. I expressed my dissatisfaction toward his mother to him and shared my painful feelings. While he listens to me, he always responds, "My mother does it because she loves me. I'm sorry." I am not seeking an apology from him, but rather his support against his mother. Despite this, he respects both his mother, who raised him alone, and me. Understanding his struggle between his wife and his mother, I could not blame him. As a result, I had no choice but to endure it for his sake. One day, he suddenly planned a week-long vacation trip. I felt a lightness in my heart thanks to his thoughtfulness to ease the tension with my mother-in-law. We promptly took the vacation and departed on a small family trip. At the destination, I thoroughly enjoyed our time together, just my husband and me, without thinking about my mother-in-law at all. It was undoubtedly a happy week. Time flew by, and the day to return home arrived. Sam had to stop by his office first, so I went home alone. As I walked back, reminiscing about the pleasant memories of the trip, I unlocked the door to our house. It was our familiar apartment, but the moment I stepped into the living room, I felt something was off. What could it be? I wondered to myself. I walked around the living room with an uncertain feeling. Wait a minute. I remembered closing the windows and curtains tightly when we left. However, now I noticed the curtains were slightly open and the window lock was undone. The sofa cushions were placed haphazardly, and the TV remote, usually kept in its case, was neatly lined up on the table. It seemed like things in the room had been subtly moved. The room was clean, but as someone who meticulously keeps everything in order, these small discrepancies made me deeply uneasy. When I went to the kitchen, I found that some food was missing from the fridge, and there were watermarks in the sink, clearly indicating recent use. What does this mean? I looked at the entrance, but saw no other signs. I suspected that my mother-in-law, who has a spare key, might have entered without permission, but it seemed unlikely she would do so while we were away. Also, it was impossible for us to have left the window unlocked. At that time, I believed my mother-in-law had some sense of propriety. Then, the suspicion that it might have been a burglar crossed my mind. However, I was reluctant to accept that possibility and forcefully denied the thought. If it were a burglar, there would be more chaos. Everything inside is intact, so this must be a misunderstanding. Sam probably tinkered with something before we left. Despite trying to convince myself, my attempts to contact my husband failed and my anxiety only grew. What should I do if, by chance, someone did enter? As I opened the door to my room quietly, feeling apprehensive, I was shocked by the scene before me. My room was completely ransacked. Clothes that should have been neatly arranged were haphazardly thrown on the bed, and underwear was scattered on the floor. The drawers of the dresser were overflowing with clothes, all jumbled up. The most shocking thing was the state of my desk. Every drawer had been turned upside down, and the contents were strewn about. I hurriedly checked the other rooms, but only my room had been affected. Why just this room? There's nothing of high value here. As I thought about it, the watch inherited from my grandfather came to mind. No way. Why is it gone? I searched around the desk while digging through, but the watch was nowhere to be found. At that moment, I was certain the watch had been targeted. Despite my suspicions about why such an old watch needed to be stolen, I lost my composure and hurriedly tried to contact my husband again. Did something happen? This time, the call connected. I quickly explained the situation to my husband. It seems someone broke in. The room is a mess and your room is okay, but something might have been taken. I'm calling the police right now. Really? Yes, some food is also missing from the fridge. Someone might have sneaked in. Wait a minute. I want to check it out myself before calling the police. I'll be right back. Meanwhile, see if anything else is missing. But I can't wait. This is urgent. Some of my things are also missing. Actually, my husband said something unexpected with an uneasy tone. I had let my mother stay in the room during our trip. What does that mean? Our apartment is close to the station and has good access to downtown, so my mother asked me if she could stay here to keep it safe. Wait, why would you make such an important decision on your own? I wasn't informed at all. Knowing that I dislike her, I was angry at Sam's lack of consideration for letting her use our apartment. However, he did not try to address my anger but simply tried to persuade me. There's no need to be so upset. It's always been like this. My mother comes and goes as she pleases. Just endure it like before. That's not a joke. I can't forgive this. My mother-in-law ransacked the room. It's outrageous to just endure it. Then, suddenly a voice from behind. Karen, why are you so upset? Mom. Are you talking to Sam right now? Why do you speak to my son like that? I'm angry because he decided on his own to lend out the room to you during our trip. How dare you? Blaming Sam is like saying you hate that I'm here. Indeed, I do not wish for you to freely come and go in our house. What? You're really a coward. Karen, don't talk like that. You just blame and get angry at my mother without any basis, acting like a victim, but it's all just your imagination. It was clear that I had actually suffered damage, and it was true that my mother-in-law had used the room, so it was unclear why I was being blamed. Moreover, it was surprising that Sam would defend his mother in this situation. After a while, he came home, furious, and took her side, blaming me. I can't accept such accusations. Karen, this is unforgivable. I forcibly took my husband and mother-in-law to my room to show them the situation. He could not hide his surprise at the disarray. However, she showed no sign of surprise, as if she already knew, and it quickly became clear that she was the culprit. Mom, please be honest. Did you ransack this room? Even if it was messy, exaggerating about it is a bit much. I just forgot to clean up. That's all. If I clean up now, there shouldn't be a problem, right? I was going to do it later anyway. You're being too sensitive." She admitted her wrongdoing but showed no sign of remorse. Upon discovering that she was the culprit, Sam suddenly felt awkward and remained silent, looking down. She began to justify herself. "I borrowed Karen's clothes because I left mine at home. We're not that different in height, and I thought it would be okay to borrow a bit. We're family, so getting angry over this seems unreasonable, don't you think? You're being too sensitive." He then started to agree with her. "I think so. You can't blame everything on my mother just because things are missing. Borrowing things among family is normal, and it's strange not to forgive a little mess." I had hoped for an apology from him and wanted her to apologize to me as well. However, the reality was the opposite. He asked me to apologize to her for my supposedly inappropriate words and presumptuous attitude. Despite it being clear that she was responsible for ransacking my room, seeing him staunchly support her rapidly diminished my affection for him. I felt an increasing sense of emptiness. I had endured believing my husband cared for me as much as he did his mother, but the truth was different. To avoid criticism towards himself, he fervently blamed me and clearly favored his mother, making me feel neglected. At that moment, I felt my heart break, and I resolved to take revenge against my mother-in-law. There's no need to hold back and be considerate towards Sam anymore. I cannot let this go. Before he returned, I had already prepared my response. "Mother-in-law, let me ask you clearly, where did you take my watch? I don't know about any watches. Why would I be interested in that old thing?" While she answered, she couldn't hide her agitation. I was certain that she had stolen it, but no matter what my husband would say, I had decided not to forgive her. I pressed her further. "But mother-in-law, you admit that you made a mess in this room, right? There are things that should be here but aren't. You must know about that. Hey, stop suspecting my mom if she says it's not her. Is it worth getting so upset over just a watch? If you really want a watch that badly, I'll buy you a new one, so let's drop this subject. Please stop interfering. That watch is the only heirloom from my grandfather, and it's irreplaceable. I won't give up until I get it back. I've said many times I haven't stolen anything. You're really being too noisy." "It's fine to be noisy. If you truly didn't steal it, then we must consider that a thief broke in. If that's the case, this is now a case for the police, so I must call them immediately. Fingerprinting and other investigations will help us find the culprit quickly." After saying this, I grabbed my cell phone and walked out of the room. At that moment, my mother-in-law hurriedly tried to stop me. "Wait, please wait. There's no need to call the police. To be honest, I did borrow it a little. I will return it in a week, okay? Just a moment ago, you claimed you knew nothing about it. And please don't use the word borrowed. Taking something without permission is the same as stealing. You've just admitted to stealing it. Where is the watch? It's very important to me, and I need it returned immediately. I cannot wait for a week." As I asserted this, she began to sweat profusely. "It's impossible." "Why is that?" "Because I've already sold it to a pawn shop." "What?" "Really, it sold for $20,000. Can you believe it? I didn't think it was worth that much." "Stop joking. Can you return the $20,000 immediately then? I plan to go to the pawn shop myself to retrieve it." I'm sorry, but that's impossible. I've almost completely spent that amount, and only a little is left. So please don't expect anything more from me. You'll have to raise the funds yourself." Witnessing her mocking and disrespectful attitude, I realized that further discussion was pointless, and I decided to take the final step. "I see. This was your last chance, unfortunately." While saying this, I dialed the police. "I'm the person who called earlier. Unfortunately, a theft has occurred and the perpetrator is here. Please come immediately." After the call, Sam and his mother frantically appeared before me, asking, "Who did you just call?" I explained the situation in detail. After contacting Sam, I immediately reported our situation to the police. They told me to check things out first, and if there was indeed an incident, I could call them again. Now, having confirmed with you, it's clear that you've stolen my watch, so I've reported it to the police. Not only did you steal it, you sold it without permission, which is a crime. Using that money for personal use is also a crime. What are you talking about? I kindly converted that unnecessary item into cash for you, and instead of being grateful, you call the police? I'm shocked. Karen, isn't this a bit too much? My mother is your family too. Family? I can't consider someone who steals my belongings and feels nothing about it as family. She's a criminal. A criminal? No, I've said it many times, I haven't done anything. Really? Well, all of this conversation has been recorded, and I plan to submit it to the police as evidence. You shouldn't underestimate the police. Once they check the fingerprints and the pawn shop's camera footage, it will soon be clear that you are the culprit. Continuing to hide it will only make things worse for you. As I smiled coldly, both my mother-in-law and husband showed their anger. This is ridiculous. Just because I borrowed it, it has come to this. Are you serious? If you do this, I won't hesitate to consider divorce. Is that what you want? You'll be in trouble too if we get a divorce. They think the word divorce will make me comply. Calmly, I responded to my husband's smugness. I don't mind at all. It's more problematic that your mother is a criminal. I was prepared for divorce from the beginning. Wait, please. The divorce talk was a joke, just a slip of the tongue. I got too emotional. Please reconsider the divorce. I'll apologize as many times as it takes. Just please overlook my mother's actions. While my husband said this, tears appeared in his eyes. Ironically, it should have been his mother apologizing, yet she just stood there, arms crossed, staring at me intimidatingly. Your excuses are useless. I have forgiven you and her multiple times before, but you always ignore my feelings and continue to defend her. This time, I will not forgive either of you. My firm stance left my husband without a reply, and my mother-in-law was infuriated. Actually, before this incident with the watch, I had already been victimized by your mother. Several times after my payday, the $500 that I had left at home went missing. I knew she had been around, but without evidence, I couldn't speak up. However, since discovering she is the culprit, I had been deliberately placing counterfeit bills. Did you know about that? I explained calmly. What should I do? What should I do? She was panicking and sweating when the police arrived. I explained the situation to the officers. Sam and his mother tried to argue with, "This is just a family matter," or "My wife is exaggerating the situation." But the police, based on the condition of the scene and the recorded conversation, took her into custody on suspicion of theft. Sam went to the police station with her. Accompanied by another officer, I headed to the pawn shop my mother-in-law had mentioned. At the pawn shop, there was evidence of my mother-in-law selling the watch, and surveillance footage was available. Fortunately, my grandfather's watch had not yet been sold and was still there. Thanks to the officer's explanation, I was able to reclaim my grandfather's watch. It was difficult to confront my husband and mother-in-law so directly, but I believe calling the police was the right decision. The moment I held the watch, I felt as if my grandfather was praising me. Subsequently, the divorce proceedings with my husband were completed. Until the end, my husband pleaded to avoid divorce and begged me to save his mother, but I ignored his requests. I occasionally see my husband at work, but I ignore him, and my supervisor, who understands the situation, handles it appropriately. Through lawyers, communication was strictly maintained, and ultimately my husband accepted the divorce. The police added evidence from the pawn shop clerk's testimony, confirming my mother-in-law's guilt. Currently, she is serving a 3-year sentence in prison. Initially, her actions were meant merely to harass me, but after learning that the watch could be sold for an unexpectedly high amount at the pawn shop, she became overexcited and squandered the money. As a result, she lost her part-time job and will likely face difficulties finding employment after her release from prison. What started as relatively minor harassment escalated into a major crime that ultimately devastated her life. The foolishness of her actions is astonishing. Furthermore, since she had no significant savings, the roughly $20,000 needed to reimburse the pawnshop for the watch was ultimately charged to my ex-husband. He is now working hard to earn money for his mother's living expenses, and the details of our divorce and his mother's actions have spread at his workplace, making his daily life uncomfortably scrutinized. Meanwhile, I am free from the stress caused by my ex-husband and his mother, and am thoroughly enjoying my independent life. While my married life cannot be called a success, being able to protect the valuable watch handed down from my beloved grandfather has been a great consolation for me. Currently, I am focusing more on my personal time than on romantic relationships, and I intend to enjoy my single life. I am also interested in finding new hobbies. A new chapter in my life is about to begin. Having overcome past hardships, I am now committed to cherishing myself and fully enjoying my life. I plan to fill the coming days with hope and joy, and to lead an active and positive life.